two, one.
Go.
Alright, yeah, I'm done, bro.
You're done! I just sold one face.
Welcome back to the JxV pod. We are talking today about the essential gadgets, the essential items, the essential resources you need for your studies, for your revision, and in that peak of exam time. Joseph and I, we both have very different things that we use when we study. So I feel like we've got quite a range of items to cover today. It's all off the
100%.
bat, so it's not your usual, it might not be your usual stuff, although the usual stuff is in there, like pen, paper, laptop, all of those things. But we're going to be delving into what personally helped us. So most of the items are going to be quite personal, and it's going to be up to you guys to figure out what suits you best when you're studying, when you're revising.
Exactly.
That being said, yeah. Joseph, how are you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenally, actually. And guys, just a bit of a disclaimer: it's more of a spur of the moment podcast. Yeah, spur of the moment podcast that we're going to be doing today. More so to do with the fact that we have something prepared for you guys that I don't think that you guys are ready for, and we'll be, making sure that we mention that towards the latter end of the pod today. But
yes,
really, I'm doing all right, Vihursh. How are you doing?
Good, I'm doing good as well.
Good.
Shall we? Okay,
let's commence.
I was going to start off by asking you, when you did most of the big tests that you've done in uni, because you've been at uni for almost 4 years now, you would have done these really huge tests at the end of the year or even throughout the year, right?
Yeah.
One item. Let's just start off with one item. What's the one item that if you did not have, you would not have been able to pass those exams? Just one.
It's quite trivial, but I would have liked to have said my A5 notebooks. I don't know if you can see right here. These are like the infinity stones for me in pharmacy school. Okay, without these A5 notebooks, to amplify my active recall revision, to just really be able to like knuckle down and understand pathways and how to really, what line of treatment we're ultimately offering to a patient, and how I've ultimately been able to like formulate these notes was through, you have like the printing out and sticking of certain images, using of different colors, and then, it's small and portable as well. This is durable. This is a hardback A5 notebook, and I have 3 of these. And I have to have had to summarize, lots of content to ultimately be able to effectively absorb information which I have within here. And I don't know, Vihursh, do you do something similar in A-level?
I do tend to use a lot of pen and paper, primarily,
right.
because I think it's so reliable, and I just think it's personalised towards the way I go about learning as well. I use the Feynman technique probably too much at this point. I prefer to just go over from start to finish content, essentially rewrite my notes, but in my own way, and speak out loud as if I'm teaching someone. Of course, there's no one there to teach, but I teach myself the content again, and I think that's the best way for me to go about it, because then I can reflect whether or not I truly understand a concept. If I'm able to dumb it down to myself, let alone someone else, if I'm able to do that, then I know I've really grasped the concept very well.
Yeah.
And sticking with that pen and paper route, what specifically do you write when you make your notes on the A5 paper?
My technique would be to predominantly use flashcards, in all honesty. Particularly with how I formulated all these notes, it goes without saying that using flashcards, well, it's not necessarily, I think, flashcards, it's the technique which flashcards incorporate, which is active recall. And having summarized notes on like an A5 page allows me to only add, a summarized amount of information where I'm able to effectively active recall it. I divide this book up into sections and then ultimately create like these topics where I'm then able to, summarize my notes and then from there be able to, effectively recall them, because it feels like the way that I would use flashcards anyway, because I would have that piece of information on an A5 notebook and then pretty much just effectively go through them. I think Feynman technique is also incredibly underrated, but the way that I've gone about most of my studies at this point in time is incorporating active recall notes on Notion and on these textbooks particularly. So it's more of like a cross-platform note-taking method.
So have you used flashcards digitally? So you mentioned Notion, you mentioned Anki. Do you use flashcards on those websites, or are those
actually,
more
yeah,
for
now
different...
that I mention it, a resource which I use effectively, whether that would be on the go, whether I would be traveling somewhere, it would be making notes on my phone. Well, not necessarily making notes, it would be going over the active recall notes which I have on my phone. So I have Notion. I have Notion on my phone, and this is arguably the most underrated way to be able to effectively go over notes in your spare time. So I could be, going to work, my pharmacy dispenser job, and I would want to say, cover some concepts. Maybe that would be to do with controlled drugs within pharmacy, and I would want to, possibly get my knowledge tested by the pharmacist on shift and maybe even ask any questions that I may have. So I would go to, say, for example, bear with me just a moment, the law exam. The law exam is an exam which I had back in January. So this exam right here, okay, what you can see right in front of you is the GPHC standards. And ultimately, for those who don't study pharmacy, the law exam ultimately involves the underpinning knowledge from the MEP, which is the I said it yesterday, practice and ethics. Oh my gosh, bear with me just a moment. Sorry, I had a bit of a flow.
It's all right, it's Mark.
Yeah, medicine's ethics and practice. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, so pretty much the MEP stands for Medicines, Ethics, and Practice, and ultimately that's where you're going to be incorporating all the rules and regulations behind the medications that you deal with, whether that would be controlled drugs, prescription-only drug medications, or GSL medications. And long story short, yeah, using my phone as a day-to-day guide to help me, navigate through, big chunks of information where I could ultimately, be able to readily access it wherever I am. Incredibly underrated tool. Do you have an underrated tool like that, Vihursh?
In terms of accessibility from anywhere, I would use more along the lines of Quizlet. Okay. But also I could use anything like BBC Bitesize. Sometimes I found myself during the GCSE period on the bus looking at BBC Bitesize questions, because their questions are quite general. So if I need, just a couple of general revision tips or questions to go over just before the exam, I would go to BBC Bitesize on the bus or something and check that. But one thing I utilized were flashcards over a long period of time. So as soon as this was back in year 10, year 11, probably. Yeah. As soon as I had finished a specific topic, I would go to my computer and spend a couple hours making a personalized flashcard. When I say personalized, I mean I've said this before, but I look back over all my previous exams. I look back over all of the class notes, and when I'm writing class notes, I'll put like a huge star next to something that's really important that I know I might forget in the future. I look back over the textbook, the classwork, and my previous tests, collate everything that is important to me or I think is important for the exams, and then I put all of that into one flashcard, so that when I'm revising for the big exams, I can look over just one resource which has information that's come from several different resources, It makes it
Yeah.
much more easy. And with the accessibility thing, it's very useful to be able to access this from anywhere at any time.
Mm.
If you have the offline version, you can look over the flashcards on the tube, on the bus, like you said, on the way to work. So I find it's really useful. That being said, it can be quite a hassle sometimes. I feel when you're on the bus, for instance, or when you're on the way to somewhere, there are going to be a lot of distractions, both on the actual phone that you're holding, but also
Yeah.
just surrounding you. The number of times I've been on the bus and I'm looking at some flashcards I've made, but then something passes by the bus and I've just looked up for a second, and then I've looked up for about a minute or 2 minutes, and I've lost my flow, if you know what I mean. So I feel I'm really easily distracted when I'm using my flashcards outside, out and about. And you've got the distractions within the actual phone, so you've got the temptation to go onto other apps that might be more easy for you. You know, if you've had a long day after a school or sixth form and you just feel, okay, I need to unwind a bit, probably scroll through TikTok or social media, it's so much easier than actively revising on the bus, which I know people would prefer not to do, like myself. So
Mm.
it's really hard to use to its best capability, because there's so many distractions both in and outside the phone.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah. No, I would be, trying to go to, work, or whether that would be waiting in the queue or something like that. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be that the information that you're trying to actively take in would be that, you're not effectively taking it in as effectively as you would be, say, sat at home and, like you just said, just effectively going through it with no distractions whatsoever. But I think, yeah, you're right about the phone. You have a multitude of notifications which could pop up, and that's why, in fact, that is why I've got certain apps which block this. And as well as that, I block off all notifications from all my social media applications. That way, I'm not in any way distracted, even at home, and I could be going through a certain topic, going through, I don't know, I could be in my focus mode, right? And I could have had a notification which pops up. And I think that's, at the spur of the moment, it's going to distract you. Ultimately, it's going to derail you. You're going to end up picking up your phone and going through and mindlessly scrolling away. And I think because of that, I would highly recommend those who don't know already, Opal. That one right there. Let's click on it. Opal. Incredibly underrated tool right here. Probably one of the best tools like to effectively revise. And I think that's
So
something I would recommend to you guys.
how does it work?
It ultimately works by, okay, let me just see. Okay, so I have this right here. So I can select apps which I want to block. Let me just reduce the brightness on the screen. I have apps which I can select that I want to block. And then I have right here, if you look at duration, so you can't see it, but right where it says duration, you can pick the amount of time which you can have the app blocked for. And I have it blocked
Okay.
for 23 hours and 1 minute. It's not actually going to be blocked for that long, but it's just the duration while you are, well, let's say on your phone. I have it basically for 24 hours, right? In order for me to access a given application, I need to go onto Opal first, press unblock, but then I would need to wait between 5 to 10 seconds for it to unblock. And then by that time, I'm going to be like, do I really need to even use that application right now? Not really,
Yeah.
no. So it acts as a bit of a deterrent, which is really good, in fact. And that's something I highly recommend to you guys.
Okay.
But Vihursh, let me ask you this. Is there any tool or gadget that you would use to, I don't know, amplify your productivity while you study?
Yes, I'm glad you asked me that. That's because we've talked about focused and diffuse mode too many times
Yes.
now. We've talked
Yes.
about focus mode in the last 10, 15 minutes or so, and how we use pen and paper, how we use technology as well, like these online websites for our focus mode when you want to study. But it's equally important to have a resource that will increase your productivity through your diffuse mode. Sorry. Now, when it's peak exam season, you are likely to not want to be in that diffuse mode for a long period of time, and that's because you can't be distracted by, you can't be having too much fun when you're studying or when you're revising for exams, right?
Too much
So
fun.
what I used,
I'm always having
Come
fun
on.
when I revise them.
Peak GCSE. I'm telling you, I felt so guilty when I was trying to take a break because
I guess, yeah.
I felt like I had to be on the ball. There's so much I felt like there was so much to cover with GCSEs. I mean, 10 to 11 subjects, possibly even 12 subjects.
All at the same time.
You have to, and each of them have about 2-3 papers, 2 if you're lucky. There's a lot of content there to cover, and then you've got coursework on top. So at the point of me taking my GCSEs, I felt like I could not take a break. But of course I had to, because I knew if I didn't, I wouldn't be productive. So I thought to myself, okay, what do I enjoy? And what's going to give me a rush of dopamine? What's going to make me feel satisfied in the least amount of time? Now, it would not be watching my favorite TV program, because normally TV programs are 30 minutes to 1 hour. So that would be too long of breaks. I need something roughly 5 to about 15 minutes that would fit in nicely with my timetable I've made for myself. So what I would resort to sometimes would be the Rubik's Cube.
Wow.
Joseph, I know you've had one. You've got one.
Yes, that's correct.
So I thought we could do a cheeky little challenge.
All right.
Let's see. The first one to solve the Rubik's Cube. Now, we have shuffled this quite well. And we want to find out, just for the fun of it, to see who can solve the Rubik's Cube first.
Yeah,
so
none of this is me. Raps for me. Yeah, I'm gonna get smoked.
None of this is staged. So, are we ready? Let's have the Rubik's Cube in front so they can see what's going on. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Let me get a timer ready. Hold on. Then when I press start on the timer, we'll go.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
No, I'm not ready. We have a good look at this.
Can we start? No. That's it.
No,
Start
just
the thing.
looking.
Start the thing. Oh, damn. Sorry. Accidentally.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
3, 2, 1.
Go.
Damn. You might win this,
Nah, I'm getting slower.
I'm feeling the pressure. I just realized I'm not showing my Rubik's Cube.
Oh, my thing's messed up.
I'm taking the win then.
The way that you just said it, I'm dead.
Alright, yeah, I'm done, bro.
Ah, you're done! Ah! I just sold one face. Ah! Damn.
Wait,
What's the time? What was the time?
Let me reduce the brightness, hold on.
Oh my gosh, that's quick.
58.
That's very quick.
58.
You know what, Vihursh? Challenge me in
rematch.
next week's podcast.
Say
Challenge
no
me
more.
next week.
I'll challenge you next week.
Challenge me.
Okay, sweet. That was the side. But the point I was trying to get across there, 1 minute, even if you can do it in about, 2-3 minutes, that's really good. Because I'm smiling, you're smiling. Now we can capitalize on that and just continue with our revision.
Exactly.
Head on. So I would use the Rubik's Cube if I just needed a 5-minute break after 20-minute revision period to keep me going, keep that boost going. But let's say I've been revising for about 40 minutes to 1 hour. I've had a longer revision session, a longer focus mode, if you like. For my diffuse mode, I would do something like drumming. So I've got an electric drum kit. I would use that, just go on jam there for a bit. Or I might, I'm trying to think what else I'd do now. Maybe I'll just come down and make something or have something to eat and go back up. Literally fuel myself to carry on. But things like that, I would use any resource around me that I know would keep me going, like the Rubik's Cube, like me playing the drums, because I genuinely enjoy those and it's going to keep me going.
Yeah.
So that's a bit like an unusual resource that you guys probably wouldn't have thought of. Are there any more resources that you use or you have used?
I think I've got a couple in mind right here, right now. I've got planners which I use, so like small mini notebooks to like kind of write like today's to-do list, or whether that would be, I don't really like having to-do lists online. I don't know if you have the same problem, Vihursh, but you know, I've seen a multitude of productivity videos where they would be saying like, oh, Notion planner, this, that, and the other. Having my planner online has changed my life. But for me personally, I think this is an incredibly underrated tool to be like being able to effectively write down what it is that you have to do today, what task you have accomplished. So I think it's quite satisfying. You kind of like ticking off whatever it is that you've kind of set yourself as today's tasks. I don't know whether you do the same thing, Vihursh. Is that a similar thing that you would do?
Yes, I do. I prefer, like you said, just writing things down rather than having this fancy online timetable. And trust me, I've tried one too many. And apart from the fact that all of them have asked me to use premium within the first 1 or 2 days, which has put me off. I think the effort of me going towards that app, filling it out, filling all the details up, making it look nice and aesthetic, the date and whatnot, it takes too much effort when I could just write it down on a piece of paper where I have all of these things, like a planner. I would have a little bit in my planner, probably not even much bigger than the size of the phone, on my planner, where I would write down anything that I need to do for the week and I would tick it off. So when it comes to my mind, I can just open my planner, write it down, job done. And then I would prioritize it in terms of which one's the biggest task and therefore needs to be addressed quickly. And then, like you said, ticking it off physically rather than digitally tapping on a button, I don't get that same stimulation. I don't get that same satisfaction when I've completed it. So I prefer writing things down, writing my to-do list down, writing things in my planner physically rather than having like these Notion or having these other apps that ask you to buy their premium features within a couple of days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it goes without saying, like, it's all well and good having your to-do list online, but let's say hypothetically you guys did have your, to-do list online and your phone's about to run out of charge. Underrated tool right here, portable charger. I think this is integral. This is a necessity, especially now more than ever before. I'm out and about. My phone's about to run out of charge. So don't get me wrong, this is not like the fanciest phone of all time. Like this phone got released back in 2020, and bearing in mind I've been using it now for the most part of nearly 4 years. This has incredibly underrated tool, but don't get me wrong. But of course, over time, battery degrades. And although the battery on this is slowly, passing its time, I have a portable charger to keep me going. In fact, and I think as well as this, not only the portable charger, but I think as well, it's. Wait, before I move on, do you have a portable charger, Vihursh?
Yeah, I carry it around everywhere I go.
You have to, because it's a necessity. And likewise with the portable charger that I've just mentioned, I also have other gadgets which I use on the daily. Kindle. This Kindle right here, I kind of like to kind of optimize my sleep wherever possible. I would usually be reading a book, preferably on the Kindle, than it would be on an actual hard copy book before going to bed. That's only because I don't like to switch the light on and then kind of like ease off to sleep, because it's so beaming, it's so bright. But with the light that I have on this Kindle, I can have like the night mode or something like that, whatever it's called, to have that light kind of allow my eyes to adjust and just relax my way into a deep-seated sleep. It's far better than, having this on and then continuously mindlessly scrolling away and doing whatever you're doing. Incredibly underrated. Kindle, and I think this is the what is this model? I think this is like the budget model. As well as that, iPod Shuffle. This I got 12 years ago. Incredibly underrated tool right here. 12 years ago I got this as a Christmas present from my mum, and incredibly underrated tool. Again, I use this pretty much wherever I go. I don't pay for premium music on Spotify, Apple Music. I don't use any of that. I go through other methods of obtaining my music, and I'm not going to say how in today's video. Maybe in some other video I will explain how.
When responsive.
Yes. Sorry?
When we're sponsored.
When we're sponsored, I'm going to tell people exactly how it is that I get my music. But yeah, I use basically an incredibly old hardware MP3 player to listen to my music. But it's useful, and I use it as a daily driver. What else do I use? To optimize my organizational skills, I use folders, particularly when you have like large amounts of content. I have folders which I have pretty much everything in. So it's like all my calculation stuff in here. I have other folders which have been filled to the brim. Just bear with me just a moment. Let me just show you. And then...
Now, I also use folders mainly for my bigger subjects, which have a lot of content, and for... Jeez, man. And for the subjects which have project work or coursework.
You guys are probably thinking, Joe, what is this? Well, these are all my notes from third year pharmacy school. Let me just show you that again.
I just realised you didn't hear what I said, did you?
No, what did you just say?
Because you set your headphones off. Oh, okay. I was talking and then you cut me off.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What was it you were saying?
I was just saying I personally use folders for the bigger subjects which have coursework or project work more than my STEM subjects. Just because they've got a lot more content. That's all.
Significantly more. I think particularly at university, like last year's content just blew my socks off. Not to even mention this year's content, crazy as well. But bearing in mind, we're now doing 4 years worth of content towards my exam that I will be having in May. So
yes.
Yeah, so I've slightly run out of space on my folders for the time being, but yeah, this is just my third year notes, and I would say that's really about it on my end. Oh, and headphones. Where are your headphones?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I've got these. I've got these, but I've only got one, so I've lost the other.
Drip.
But I take this. Yeah, no, I'm telling you, man, I take it everywhere I go, even though I've only got one. Of course, I miss having. And the worst part is, right, whenever I touch this is the side that decreases the volume. The right increase volume. So now it's just on the minimum volume possible, so I can barely hear the music. But I just have it on sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because even like small music in the background can keep me going if I'm like on the way to school or if I'm working or studying, something like that. But just in the background, it helps. So yeah, headphones definitely.
Exactly.
But
all
music
of these,
in general.
Yeah. No, essential tools. Something that we can't live without. And I think slightly trivial, but yeah, those are just some of the things I feel like from both myself and Vihursh have kind of gone through today. Is there anything that you have left, Vihursh, to mention?
I'm trying to think. I did say other people the last time we were talking about this. And what I meant by that is if you can explain anything to family members or friends, that's a really good resource, so to speak. Yeah. Because it goes back to what I was saying with dumbing it down or having a conversation, making a light conversation out of something you've learnt at school. I remember all those years back, not in GCSE, but for history. I never used to like history because I could never remember anything that I was taught. But I had this one teacher, and all this teacher would do is just talk throughout the whole lesson, and we would be his scribes. So we'd write down everything he's saying word for word. Right. But for some reason, I would always remember what is this I learned in that history lesson when I went to when I went to bed that night. So he had a way of teaching us the skill, and then when my family members or my mum or my dad would come up, I'll just tell them what I'd learned in a history lesson, and I'd be able to remember it fairly precisely. Wow. So using other people, also having a good teacher, but using other people is a really good resource.
No, of course. I think that goes without being said. I think, with that being said as well, I think phenomenal shoot today. We kind of kept it fairly concise because, again, more of a spur of the moment podcast shoot today. But also, nonetheless, go on.
It goes to show you don't really need many resources to do well in exams.
Exactly.
You just need
I feel like
a couple here and there. We didn't really mention laptop. I think that's because it goes without saying.
I guess. But then again, it's one of those things where we've kind of tried to make the center focus of this video a budget edition whereby each and every student is accessible to any one of these gadgets there. And although I has said, some other gadgets here and there, I think the Kindle retails at around 40-50 quid. I think I got this on like a Amazon Prime Day or something. It was like at $39.99 or something.
Okay.
Oh no, oops. This right here, again, 12 years old. Like this thing
what
is,
fell?
I don't know.
Wait, hold on. What fell?
My mug is broken. I'm not joking. So, I'm not really going to be having a good cup of coffee every morning now, which is a shame.
Why'd you just dismiss it with a oops and then?
I tried to, make sure it was just like I pushed a notebook and then my mouse cap, unfortunately. So,
all right. Well, I'll let you go. I'll let you go clean that up. But yeah, thank you for recording this today. Now, you need an upgrade phone. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm gonna do a little. I think you need an upgrade.
Okay.
Not a side grade, an upgrade.
A side grade. That's a side grade, Not
a side grade, an upgrade. The reason why I'm saying this is a little teaser. At some point in the future, near future, we're going to be talking about Android versus Apple.
Yes.
Which one is better? We will not necessarily have what I'm saying, supporters of both sides arguing against each other. It will be more from a holistic point of view, and we might have a guest speaker. I'm just going to say
okay.
We might.
All right. Okay.
But
I'm
leaving
that
at that, maybe you will decide to get an Android phone next week. We will see.
Okay, we'll have to see. We will have to see.
Okay, great.
All right.
Good speaking to you. For you guys listening, make sure to, I haven't said this in some time, like and subscribe. And listen to us on Spotify. One thing I wanted to say, when you are using headphones and you are listening to podcasts or you're watching our videos, do not watch our videos. Listen to them when you're studying. It's so much better, so much easier. You're not being distracted. So listen to us on Spotify. If you are watching us on YouTube because you don't have anything else to do, make sure to like and subscribe and comment.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
All right, safe. Sweet. Bye-bye.